I think if I could tell incoming interns one thing, it's that you don't have to know everything about nutrition and being an intern on your first day. It's a process.
Do you ever have so many questions and no one to ask, so they're just wasting away on Google searches you'll forget about in an hour or so?
We had that same problem, and that's why we created the RD2B podcast, a resource for dietetic and nutrition students looking for answers that their peers don't have.
We are students Macy and Emily and registered dietitian Carl Barnes. We engage in conversations and learn from RDs.
Join us weekly as we gain insight into the unique journeys of registered dietitians all over the country.
Welcome back to another week of the RD2B podcast. This is our weekly podcast where we showcase different registered dietitians to highlight the diversity of opportunity in the profession. Right now, we're actually not just showcasing dietitians, but dietetic internships. And I didn't introduce myself. I'm Carl. I'm the registered dietitian behind RD2B. And today we're sitting down with Emily Baker from Kent State University, Combined Master of Science Dietetic Internship Program. Super excited to have you here and learn about your program. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I am excited to talk a little bit about our program, but also a little bit about my own personal journey as a dietitian and how I kind of ended up where I am right now. And so just a little bit about myself before we begin. I completed my undergraduate degree at Kent State University a long time ago. And then I went on to complete a dietetic internship program up in Cleveland, University Hospitals of Cleveland, and got my master's degree from Case Western Reserve University. I started my career really where my passion lied at the time, and that was pediatric dietetics. So I spent about the first 7 years of my career as a clinical pediatric dietitian at Akron Children's Hospital. And through the course of that, really realized that acute care was not my thing, that I enjoyed getting to know people a little more. So I kind of transitioned from inpatient to outpatient care. And during that time, started to teach classes, which was really where I started to find like where my real passion lied, was to teach classes, to educate people. And that kind of naturally led to a transition to teaching at the collegiate level, which was something I always wanted to try, but always knew that I wanted to have some experience as a dietitian working in the field before I did that. So I started off at the University of Akron for about 5 years and transitioned to Kent in the beginning of 2012. And just taught part-time for a while, and over time became involved with the internship program and worked under our former director. And she retired. And since I had a lot of experience working with the program, it was kind of a natural transition for me. And it's been a wonderful experience. I can truly say that I absolutely love my job. I love working with students, and I especially love working with our interns and see them grow and evolve from students to professionals. And so I always tell my interns to, I never would have thought I would have ended up in this position. I was probably thinking I was going to be a clinical pediatric dietitian for life. And so be open to the twists and turns that your career can take, that your education component, whether that's undergrad, graduate school, internship, be open to those different opportunities, because you might just go down a pathway that you find that you love more than you ever thought that you were going to love. So that's just a little bit about me and a little bit about my background.
Great. Thank you so much for taking time out to talk to us today. As always, I'm Emily, your RD2B from University of Maryland. So how do you balance a work life and a personal life? Since you said you're a mom of 3, you're an instructor and a DI director.
So admittedly, I am still working on this. I feel as if, the life of a dietitian in the field of academia, a certain amount of it is a non-traditional schedule. So, I have a lot of flexibility in my weeks, but there are times when I am taking calls from my interns at like 6 in the morning. Sometimes it's 11 o'clock at night. Emergencies happen, or they need to get a hold of me. But I try my hardest to keep work confined to the working hours when I'm here on campus or I'm working in my home office. And in the evenings, I really do try to make sure I'm devoting those to my family, and to all the activities they're belonging to. But it is a little tough, and I continue to work on it each and every day, because it is challenging. But I'm also a person who really likes to be busy. I don't do very well. I think relaxation is not something I'm particularly great at. So I like being busy. It actually it makes me happy. So I guess I'm in the right position for that as well.
I agree. I don't think I am good at relaxing at all. I took classes over the summer just so I had something to do. Um, so, as a director, what do you look for in applicants that are applying to your program?
We are a combined program. So really there's two aspects of our program. We have the graduate school aspect, and then we have the practical on-site experience aspect of it. So I feel like with our internship selection committee, we look for a well-rounded applicant. So those members of the committee that are really our graduate school instructors at Kent, they're really looking at the academics of it. They're looking for a strong overall cumulative GPA. And then we also have a heavy emphasis on the science DPD GPA. And that's because our graduate program is really focused and heavily rooted in science. But that doesn't mean that that's the be all end all. I personally, as the DI director, want to know that when I send an intern out, that they will be a good representative of our program. They're going to have a strong work ethic. They're going to display professional behaviors that are expected of them, such as dressing appropriately, showing up on time, working hard at their rotation sites. So I'm kind of always on playing a little bit of devil's advocate on the other end, where I really like to look at work and volunteer experience. Because to me, those types of qualities and attributes are going to be very important in supervised practice experiences. So we kind of look at everything all together. It's not one thing over the other. The only requirement for our program that would be a quote unquote deal breaker would be a cumulative GPA less than 3.0. And the reason that is because our graduate school kind of cuts off applicants at that particular level. And so once they're matched to our program, then they apply to the graduate school. And that 3.0 basically, is the threshold in which they need to have in order to be admitted. But again, I really like that well-rounded applicant. Sometimes a lower GPA can't, but someone who has a tremendous volume of work and volunteer experiences, sometimes they are a more attractive applicant to me than somebody who has a very high GPA, but at the same time has very minimal work and volunteer experiences. So I think that's a benefit of our program, that we're really kind of looking for that well-rounded individual.
Definitely. So, talking about the application process, I know that you mentioned that it has to go through your program and the grad school. So,
Mhm.
say you admit, like you want and you accept someone, could the grad school deny them based on GPA, or how does that work? If you,
No, absolutely. So we do not rank anybody with a cumulative GPA less than 3.0 for that very reason. So we essentially will match individuals and rank individuals who have a cumulative GPA of 3.0 or above. They do not have to apply to our graduate school until after they have been matched. So once they're matched with our program, then they apply to graduate school. And with that, minimum GPA cutoff, there's there has never been an instance where a matched intern has not then been accepted into our graduate school.
Awesome. So since you have a graduate degree that's a Master of Science, what's the emphasis of it? Is it nutritional science? Is it dietetics? Or is it, a little bit more just flat out Masters of Science?
Right. So our graduate degree definitely is more nutrition science based. It is heavy in the sciences, which is why we do take a very serious look at what someone's DPD science grades are. That being said, if you had a rough semester and your biochem grade was not what you wanted it to be, personal statements are a great time to address that. What was going on in your life during that time in generalities? What have you done since then to increase your knowledge in a particular area? So again, we're very heavily focused in nutrition science. The emphasis and concentration of our internship program is leadership. And what's exciting about the leadership emphasis is that it can go anywhere the intern is going to go. It's not confined to a clinical or a community setting. Leadership can go anywhere. And at Kent State, we believe that leaders are not born, but leaders are learned. And our leadership emphasis begins very early in the internship experience. In fact, over the summer, interns, as they prepare to enter into our program, are reading about leadership, and then we build upon that. And these concepts of leadership are threaded throughout the entire experience. We talk about leadership concepts. They rank themselves on leadership-based skills in every site that they go to. They do a lot of reflecting and goal setting for semesters with regards to leadership. And then they're surrounded by lots of preceptors every day that are giving them great examples of leadership. And then they use that sum total of all of their experiences on sites to really formulate the leader that they want to be moving forward. So we do kind of have two concentrations since we're that combined program: nutrition science for the graduate degree, and then leadership for the internship component of it.
That's great. So how many people do you typically have that apply to your program? And then how many people do you match?
Sure. So typically, we get between 30 to 40 applicants. The past couple of years has been a little closer to 30, probably largely due to global events. And we accept 10. So we participate in the spring match only each year. And every August, we welcome in 10 new dietetic interns. I just finished 2 weeks of orientation with our new class of interns, got to know them a lot better than I did before. And today is their very first day at their very first rotation. So I'm very excited when I see them tomorrow to see how everything went today.
Great. So what do you want your interns to know prior to starting the internship? So what did you do in the orientation in the past 2 weeks that'll set them up to do well today?
We really focus, our orientation is 2 weeks, and we focus on a lot of things during orientation. Number one, the nuts and bolts. What is expected of them logistically when they go out to sites? Things such as reaching out to your preceptors, what to ask your preceptors, this kind of concept of onboarding, which is required materials that modules they'll have to take for different sites. But we also focus on other things as well. We have speakers come in that speak on long-term care nutrition, that speak, because this is one of their first rotations that they might have. We have a speaker come in that talks about formularies at hospitals and how to choose enteral formulas. We do some overall medical nutrition therapy basics to kind of get them thinking in that particular direction. We also, since we have a leadership focus, a good deal of time is spent with our second year interns. Every fall, we have two classes of interns. We have first years that are just starting and second years that are completing their last semester as a dietetic intern. So we focus a lot on mentorship. So we allot time for our second year interns to really mentor our first year interns. And new incoming interns are they're a lot more comfortable asking second year interns questions about the program and how they've dealt with things than sometimes they are asking me at this point in time. So we focus on mentorship. And within our program, I also like to advocate that we are a small family within the larger Department of Nutrition within the larger confines of Kent State University. So we focus a lot on, building relationships amongst the new interns as well. It's a very important concept to me, kind of these family building activities we do. We also take some time just to chill out. In fact, we had a yoga session because everybody is nervous. Everybody is understandably anxious for that first rotation. So taking some time for self-care, relaxation, and yoga typically hits the spot for that for sure. So some logistics and getting everybody ready and started, and then some time for them also to really express concerns that they have. And I think if I could tell incoming interns one thing, it's that you don't have to know everything about nutrition and being an intern on your first day. It's a process. You're going to make mistakes. You are going to ask questions. You're going to be confused about things. And if you didn't do all three of those things, then you would not need to be involved in a dietetic internship program. Everybody needs a good base of nutrition knowledge, but it's learning to apply that knowledge in a supportive environment. That's really a key component of our program here at Kent State. I always feel like interns feel like they have to know everything when they begin, and that's just not the case. And it's not my expectation either.
Great. So when your interns, when they started today, are they all at the same rotation, or are, three of them somewhere, another three at a different place?
Our internship is structured so that all 10 of them well, actually I have 20 now. So all 20 of my interns are at 20 different sites. Kent State, we are not specifically affiliated with one particular institution. And sometimes a hospital-based internship, you'll be based in a hospital, similar to what my experience was. Our program, they are located throughout Northeast Ohio. And so every single one of these interns is at a different site. However, 5 of them have just started their food service management experience, and 5 of them have just started a community experience, whether that's WIC or another community location. So I clump them together, so to speak, at specific sites, but all of them are at a different site. And this kind of setup, while it can be challenging for me to locate all of these different sites in Northeastern Ohio, I think it allows us to offer a tremendous amount of diversity with site placements and perhaps some experiences that they would not get otherwise in another internship program. So yes, right now, 20 interns, 20 different sites. My second year interns are either at school sites or renal sites right now.
Great. And then, so how long is the combined program? And then do they take classes during their DI, or do they do the master's first and then the DI, or what does that look like?
So our total program is 22 months. They complete 3 traditional semesters and 1 full-time summer experience as a dietetic intern / graduate student. So they enter in August, they complete fall 1, spring, full-time clinical MNT over the summer, and then they'll wrap up the internship, the combined portion of it, in their second fall semester. The final spring semester is focused on completion solely of graduate work or their graduate thesis / project. But during those semesters where there is a combined internship and graduate studies portion of it, The interns are on site Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So the expectation is that they're completing 24 hours of on-site practical work. And then Tuesdays and Thursdays are full days of master graduate work on the Kent State main campus. So we truly are a combined program where they're completing both of them at the same time. It is rigorous, but it has a lot of benefits. I get to see them at least once a week in scheduled class time. So both internship classes right now have their own internship class with me. So I get to connect with them. We talk a lot about, the great things that have happened during the week, the not so great things that have happened, and offer support and brainstorming to help make things better. It's also where we focus a lot on our leadership component. And then every semester has a seminar which focuses on a particular aspect of dietetics as well. And it's a great time for them to see each other in an area they're familiar with, right? So dietetic students are really used to being students. They are not used to being interns. So it blends some unfamiliarity with familiarity at the same time, and really does allow us as faculty to give them a lot of support throughout the journey. But yes, total from beginning to end, 22 months is what our program, how long it lasts.
Great. And then how has your program adjusted because of the pandemic?
Well, that was an interesting time. One thing that I am very grateful to say is that even at the beginning, I had a really phenomenal group of dietetic interns, and we just said, let's just dive in and see what we can do. We really didn't miss a beat over the pandemic. A lot of our sites shifted to virtual rotations, which, because of the way the pandemic was overall, the sites that they were at were also shifting to virtual experiences. Out of the 1,550 hours that we have allotted to on-site experiences, the only experience that some interns missed out on was their elective experience, which is a 6-week or 18-day experience. That was the only one that I was willing to not have them do because it is something a little bit extra. But everyone completed everything they needed to do. And we really still exceeded the number of hours that the academy requires. It was a lot of shifting, a lot of creativity. I have become really good at dealing with plans A through Z and adjusting pretty quickly, which I have a feeling will just continue to help me throughout the rest of my career, pandemic or not pandemic. But it required a lot of flexibility and adaptability on the part of my interns, and they were outstanding. I could not have asked really these past couple years, the intern classes that I've had and their willingness to kind of jump on this crazy pandemic internship ride with us. But we did, still that summer of the pandemic, those interns that wanted placement sites in a hospital setting were able to get them. Everyone was at a hospital this past summer. And we're starting to see it become a little less complicated with regards to placements this fall. But I still feel like everybody got really meaningful experiences, and I really felt they were prepared once they finished our program.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to talk to us. It was great learning about the Kent State program.
Thank you.